Each night, the sound of the train whistle marked the end of the day and time for the orchestra to play their last song, Home Sweet Home. As the lights dimmed at Penmar, the musicians made their way back to the Blue Mountain Inn. Until 1936, Sunday dancing at the Penmar Pavilion was not allowed. The regular Sunday concerts often featured guest artists. Zell Smith, one of the leaders of the Penmar Orchestra, featured one unlucky soloist who had to compete with the 8 p.m. freight train from Hagerstown. Zell recalls,
"It was a big steam locomotive. As it neared the dance pavilion, it began to pick up steam, blowing its whistle repeatedly. As the young lady started to sing, all we could see was her mouth moving, but you couldn't hear a note she was singing. If that wasn't bad enough, there was a pusher locomotive on the train, and it repeated the process. Needless to say, the soloist never came back."
Over the course of its first 20 years, Penmar evolved into an amusement center. The first amusement was Edward Ditch's Pony and Goat Track in 1901. For a nickel, children could ride in a cart or atop a pony over a small stony track. In 1902, a photography studio was set up so that visitors could remember their day at Penmar.
The last place I worked was at the photo studio. And I worked there for 4 summers. And I didn't have a home at that time, and so in the summer I stayed there. We had a sleeping quarters upstairs, and we had a kitchen in the back. We took pictures, and they were pictures. They weren't reversed images. And from those we made enlargements, and Ray could paint them if people want them. This was the lady that worked with me.
For 10 cents a picture, or 4 for a quarter, park visitors had a choice of backgrounds for their picture: High Rock Observatory, Devil's Racecourse, or a plain curtain. The studio also provided on-site film developing and print service, so visitors could take their pictures home the same day. In 1904, the first big amusement came to Penmar, the Little Wabash. It was built and operated by William Flay, an engineer for the Western Maryland Railway.
Mr. Flay was a nice man. He always stood out because at that time he had a white beard, a goatee and a white mustache. And of course he always had an engineer's hat on. We thought that was pretty neat.
I can remember hearing the Little Wabash, the train. It was just like a regular it was a regular train that was only it was in a miniature style, size, and but it was exciting.
For the first 3 years, the train ran on a straight track through the woods. In 1907, the track was enlarged to a figure 8 and covered 3/4 of a mile.
The engine actually burned hard coal, had a well, a bell, a whistle, just like your locomotives that would have passed by the park would have had. And they say in the course of the life of that miniature train, about 750,000 people rode that and a fellow train which was added later. So you actually had 2 miniature trains.
One of the train's most famous passengers was Albert C. Ritchie, longtime governor of Maryland. He rode the train every year when he visited Penmar.